Is this Mr. Gomez Vega? Okay, let me get the interpreter on the line here.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jaime Sotomayor, certified federal interpreter, already sworn.
Thank you. Okay, we're now in Orange County.
The interpreter is connected to the headphones.
Okay, can you ask him if his name is Abraham Gomez Vega, please?
Correct.
Okay. I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. We would set the bond in the amount of $1,500. We would order no contact while this is pending with the alleged victim. If they live together, they would have to maintain residences. He can return one time with law enforcement to obtain personal belongings. We will appoint the Office of the Public Defender.
Your Honor, Mary Abraham, on behalf of the Public Defender's Office, I would just be asking if pretrial release had in contact with this alleged victim.
According to my notes, they were not able to reach the victim. Is that right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gomez Vega. Do we know how many of these are Spanish? Mr. Interpreter, did you need a case number? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
21 MM 9106.
Thank you, sir.
Two more? Again, I think we have a couple more. He's putting on the headphones now. Good morning. Are you Mr. Leandro Rodriguez Estrella?
Yes.
Okay, I do find probable cause for one count of possession of cocaine. You would set the bond in the amount of $1,000, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender. Good, thank you, sir.
Do we have a case number for that?
We might. 21 CF 16128.
Thank you.
Good morning. Are you Mr. Jose Colon?
Yes,
And do you speak English, Mr. Colon?
a little bit.
Okay, we'll use the interpreter, okay? I have reviewed the police report. I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. He does qualify for pretrial release, so he can do that. The indication from pretrial is that the victim was leaving the country, the alleged victim was leaving the country. Okay, so we are going to order no contact. If the person has left the country, then he can go home. I don't know if they live together or not.
No.
No contact.
Okay, but we're going to order no contact with the victim alleged as a condition of release, and you will comply with the conditions of pretrial release, okay? Thank you, Mr. Colon.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
The affidavit indicates that the victim is Mr. Colon's wife, and that there is no indication that they do not live together. Kids were also present during this incident, so at this time, the state does ask for the defendant to maintain separate residences. I'm sorry, I forgot to add that the affidavit states that the victim was going out of town for the holidays.
And that's fine. If she comes back, there's no contact, so they do have to maintain separate residences to comply with that while this is pending. So if she's not there now, he can go home. But if she returns home, he would have to leave, okay?
And Your Honor, there are children involved in this case, so the defense would just ask that a mutual party be allowed for him to be able to see his children.
Your Honor, because the children did witness this incident and are
this is the case, the state would also ask that there be no contact with the children.
Defense would be objecting to that.
That's a DCF issue to me, and if there's reasons to shelter the children, then that would be done, okay? So I'm not gonna order no contact with the children at this time. That might be an issue later on, but that's not for me to decide today, okay? But so we can have contact with the children, and that would be arranged through an agreed upon intermediary, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Case number, sir?
Good question. 21 MM 638.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Interpreter. Thank you for your help.
Is that all for today, sir?
I believe so. Do you speak English?
You-
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Interpreter. Are you Mr. Keller?
consult if there- Your Honor, can we consult if there are any witnesses that need an interpreter?
You can ask.
Sometimes that happens.
Okay,
Si tenemos un testigo en el público que necesite intérprete, por favor levante la mano.
no, okay. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Enjoy your holiday, sir.
Thank you, bye-bye. All right, so Mr. Jeremy Keller is here. There is probable cause for urinating or defecating in public. Is this something we can resolve today, or?
If state has an offer, I can relay it.
Sure.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the affidavit, but I do believe that the offer to resolve this case was a, yes, withhold credit time served and court costs.
If I can have a moment, Your Honor.
Time to pay it off because when I went to a hospital, they gave me the.
Don't worry about that. If you want to get out today, you can plead. We'll talk about money in a minute, okay?
Yes.
Okay. There's going to be a form. I want you to review the form and sign it if you'd like to resolve this today, okay? Mr. Keller, raise your right hand to the best you can. Your other hand, there you go. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can put your hand down, and your name is Jeremy Joseph Keller.
Yes.
And Mr. Keller, how old are you?
40-something or 50-something.
Okay, and what's your highest level of education?
GED.
So you're able to read and write English, is that correct?
Yes.
Are you currently under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication? Is there anything wrong mentally or physically that would interfere with your ability to understand what we're doing in court today?
No.
All right, so I'm going to get your plea form in just a minute. All right, so this is the plea form you had in front of you. Did you have a chance to review this form?
I'll take it.
Okay, is this your signature here? All right, you're entering a plea of no contest to violating a city ordinance of urinating in public, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, I do accept your plea today and find it to be freely and voluntarily made. So I do accept it. We're going to withhold adjudication of guilt, and it's a time-served sentence. What are his?
3 days. 223.
So it's $223 in court costs. I'm going to reduce those to a civil judgment, okay? It's going to have to be paid someday, but you're going to be able to get out of jail today, okay?
I'll get out of jail?
Yep, any questions?
No.
Good luck, you have 30 days to appeal.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Corelli is behavior.
Is Monica Giancarlo not able to be here for behavior reset for tomorrow? Okay. We can reset. Judge Mize can do it tomorrow. Are you Hubert Credit?
Yes, sir.
All right, good morning, Mr. Credit. We do find probable cause for trespass after a warning. Are we able to resolve this today or no?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. We set his bond in the amount of $500. We order no return to Walmart located at 2715 South Orange Avenue, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Credit. Okay.
Your Honor, would the court be inclined to offer an ROR on a trespass case?
Any objection from the state?
Your Honor, the state would object just considering the history.
4 prior Baker Acts. He has an involuntary placement from earlier this year. What I want to know is there any indication he's been, this is a repeat problem at this location, Walmart? Mr. Credit,
Your Honor,
where do you live?
I'm actually in a transit situation. I have a lot of my things stolen, my debit card, my ID.
Do you have a stable residence?
No, sir, not currently right now, but
Are you
I'm
currently
working on it.
working?
I have people working with me concerning that, people in the neighborhood.
When was the last time you were employed?
Earlier this year, I was working in Burger King in Tampa, Florida.
You know the Walmart I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir, yes.
And you stay away from there.
Yes, sir. Only reason why I went through that.
Don't talk to me. I just need, I'm gonna ROR you.
Yes,
You're telling me you're not gonna go back to the Walmart.
yes, sir, yes.
Judge Mize is gonna be here. If you get picked up for going to this Walmart, he's probably gonna hold you with a higher bond, okay?
Yes, sir.
So we'll release you today on your own recognizance. No return to this Walmart. We'll appoint the PD to represent you. Good luck, okay?
All right, thank you.
Take care, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you Mr. Diggs?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Diggs. I do find probable cause for 1 count of possession of MDMA, ecstasy. We'll set your bond in the amount of $1,000. We'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay?
I can't get a PTO?
Not today.
I don't got no way.
You do not qualify, you don't qualify for pretrial release. He has 2 cases? Hold on. I missed a case.
Huh?
21 MO 1527, there is also probable cause for disorderly conduct. And that's panhandling, basically. Well, let me check at the state. The state asking for a bond on him?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. What we can do, Mr. Diggs, is release you on your own recognizance, okay? We'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Please be careful, okay?
Yeah, because
On both.
I got this medical thing that,
Your Honor, is it ROR on both cases?
Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay. Thank you.
Free to go through.
Are you Mr. Green? All right, good morning, Mr. Green. 21 MM 9098, Mr. Green, I think there's someone here for you. I have reviewed the police report. I do find probable cause for 1 count of domestic violence battery. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And ma'am, if you're in the booth, if you could pull the mask down, it'll make it easier for us to hear you. Fantastic. And can I have your name, please?
Shanika Devon,
And ma'am, what is your relationship with Mr. Green?
fiance.
Fiance, okay. Do you have a date set yet?
Oh, next year.
Okay, even after this?
Huh?
Even after?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I found probable cause that you were the victim of a battery, and we need to talk about, he's gonna get a bond. And we need to talk about whether you want to have any contact with him when he gets out.
I do.
Are you in fear of him?
No,
Has anything like this ever happened before?
no.
Was there alcohol or drugs involved?
I mean, we came from a club, from a bar, so I mean, alcohol was in it.
Because I intend to let him go home, but I'm probably going to order that he not have any alcohol while this is pending, okay?
Okay.
Okay, any questions from the state?
Yes, Your Honor. If anything like this were to happen in the future, would you call 911?
Yeah, I'll call 911. But he's not
And-
harmful at all, so.
And did your kids witness this incident?
It wasn't even like, no, they were there, but it
Objection,
wasn't
Your
no
Honor.
fight like
Outside the scope.
hitting like that.
Overruled, you can answer it.
I'm sorry, did your kids see this incident?
The incident, no.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Green, we'll set your bond the amount of $1,000. We're going to order you have no hostile contact with your fiancee as a condition of your release. You're not to use or possess any alcohol or non-prescribed drugs while this is pending, okay? We'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Good luck, okay? So you can help him bond out and then wish you well.
Okay, where do I go for the bond?
Well, they'll answer your questions downstairs, but you're probably going to have to get a money order. You can go to the 7-Eleven down the street, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Hicks is medical.
All right, so that's Mr. Marte Hicks. He can be reset tomorrow.
All right. Jesus. Oh, okay.
Are you Carol Baptiste?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Baptiste. I've reviewed the police report. I do find probable cause for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. And we have somebody here. Good morning, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And can I have your name, sir?
Gerard A. Price.
I'm sorry, last name is?
Price, Price.
Mr. Bryce, gotcha. And what is your relationship with Ms. Baptiste?
That's my mother.
Do y'all live together?
I live with her.
You live with her, okay. And I did review the police report. I did find probable cause that you were the victim of a aggravated battery. If she is able to get out of jail, do you want to have any contact with her?
I think what I want to really say is that it wasn't, Mommy did not assault me. She didn't assault me.
Okay.
My mother was concerned about my child, which she has temporary
Objection, Your Honor.
guardianship for.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
The issue is whether, well, let me ask you this. Are you in fear of her?
No.
If she's able to get out of jail, are you comfortable having contact with her?
Yes.
And you understand that if we allow her to have contact with you, there's nothing that anybody in this room can do to protect you.
Understood, sir.
If something happened, you'd have to call law enforcement. Do you understand
Understood.
that?
Yes, sir.
Has anything like this happened before?
No.
Was there any
Look at her. She's not that type of person.
Was there any alcohol or drugs involved?
No, sir. It was early in the morning.
And were you injured?
I scratched my arm on the door on the side, and the officer automatically thought that she came at me, and she didn't come at me. Like I said, she was just concerned about my daughter because I let my daughter sleep out, and she has guardianship over her.
Objection, Your Honor. He's talking about the facts of the case at this time, and we're
Don't you
just,
think that's relevant to decide whether we're going to have contact or not?
I think it could harm my client at this point. I think it just.
He doesn't have a Fifth Amendment privilege. I mean, he's trying to help her, by the way, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I think he has every right to tell me what he wants for us to make a decision, okay?
But she's no harm, sir. Like I said, she has my daughter. She's guardianship of my daughter. She was just concerned about my daughter, and she called the police. Mommy called the police.
Any questions from the state?
I'm sorry.
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
Okay. All right. So what we would do is we'd set Ms. Baptiste bond in the amount of Well, she qualifies for pretrial release, so she can do pretrial release with the condition that she have no hostile contact with Mr. Bryce. So she's able to go home. She'll have to check in with pretrial release, and we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender.
Thank
Okay?
you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good luck, sir. Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Unlock the chair. Unlock the chair.
Are you Ladarius, is it maybe Barnes?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Barnes.
Your Honor, I believe you signed the form to waive the readings.
Okay.
Sign that one.
And we do find probable cause. We'd set his bond in the amount of $3,500 with no contact with the alleged victim. If they live together, they need to maintain separate residences. He can return one time with law enforcement to obtain his belongings. He's not to possess any weapons or firearms. If he does have such things, they would be surrendered to law enforcement within 24 hours of release. And we can appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay? Thank you. All right, good morning. Are you Jared, is it Prochaska?
Prohaska.
Prohaska, okay.
sir.
I do find probable cause for one count of aggravated battery on a pregnant person. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And can I have your name, please?
Carolyn Page.
Ms. Hage?
Carolyn Page.
Page.
Yes.
And what is your relationship with Mr. Prohaska?
Is my fiance.
Okay. Do you live together?
Yes.
And I have read the police report. I do find probable cause that you were the victim of a battery.
Yeah.
Okay? If he's able to get out of jail, do you wish to have contact with him?
Yes.
Are you in fear of him?
No.
Has anything like this happened before?
No.
Was there any drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
No.
Okay. Do y'all have children together?
I'm actually pregnant now.
Okay. Pregnant now?
Yes.
And he's aware that you're pregnant to your
Yes.
knowledge? Okay. Any questions from the state?
No, are you asking me?
No. Any
Yes,
questions for her?
Hi, good morning. Are you afraid of Mr. Prochaska?
No.
And have there been any incidents to happen like this before?
No.
Would you be afraid if he was released today?
No.
Would you call 911 if anything were to happen in the future?
Yes.
Were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained. She said no.
And no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we can set his bond in the amount of $2,500, order that he have no hostile contact with his fiancee, and we can appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay?
Is there a 10% on that for bond?
You call a bondsman, presumably, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Does have a second case, Your Honor.
Do I
There's two cases?
have anything to sign?
Usually there's,
No.
For resisting without violence.
where's my paperclip?
It's not on there. Maybe it's on.
That's fine. He's got, there was a resisting that came along with this, which I missed, so there's probable cause for resisting without violence. That's a $500 bond, okay?
Sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Judge Mize is gonna need paper clips. Are you Stanley, Mr. Belizaire?
Yes, sir.
All right, good morning, Mr. Belizaire.
Morning.
All right, I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. Does look like he qualifies for pretrial release. We don't have any information from the alleged victim, so you'll have no contact with Victoria Lydia Belizaire as a condition of your release. If you live together, you'll have to maintain separate residences while this is pending. You can return one time with law enforcement to obtain your personal belongings. Okay, we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Okay? Thank you, sir. All right, are you Ms. Casey? Yes. All right, Ms. Casey, I've reviewed the police report. I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. I don't think the other person is here. You do qualify for pretrial release, so we can allow you to do that, but we'll order no contact with the victim alleged. You need to maintain separate residences while this is pending. If you live together, you can return one time with law enforcement to obtain your belongings, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay? Are you Ms. Davis? Ms. Davis? Okay. We do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. We can set bond in the amount of $1,500. Order no contact with the victim alleged as a condition of release. If they live together, they'll have to maintain separate residences. She can return one time with law enforcement if they do live together to obtain her belongings. And we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender.
And Your Honor, if I may, does Ms. Davis, can she get pretrial release?
Didn't qualify.
Didn't qualify.
Does not
Ms. Davis is requesting an ROR or a lower bond at this time.
Anything from the state?
Your Honor, the state has no objection to a lower bond.
$500 bond?
Ms. Davis would be asking for an ROR. She can't afford the $500 bond at this time.
I think it would require her to have someone put up 100 of that, I think, if she's able to go bondsman.
I have no family. Nobody to bond me out.
What's the state's position?
Your Honor, considering the arrest history, the state would object to ROR in this case.
And I think that's a valid concern, okay? I mean, if she can demonstrate, she can request a bond hearing and demonstrate an inability to pay, I think that would require a little bit more than what we have here today, okay? Thank you, ma'am.
So it would be set at 500 at this time?
Yes. Hi, are you Mr. Ryan Fields?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Fields. I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery, and I believe we have someone here. Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
And can I have your name, please?
Evangelica Heimley,
And Ms. Hyman, what is your relationship with Mr. Ryan
my
Fields?
boyfriend.
Boyfriend. Do you live together? Yes?
Yes.
And how long have you lived together?
Over a year.
Do you have any children together?
No.
Does anyone else live there with the two of you?
No.
And I did find probable cause that you were the victim of a battery. Are you in fear of him?
No.
Okay. If he's able to get out of jail, would you like to have contact with him?
No contact.
No contact. You don't want contact?
No
Okay.
contact.
That's fine. Anyone have any questions for her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to order no contact. Do you want more information? I thought it might be.
Your Honor, just whether drugs or alcohol were involved in this incident?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
Is this home that you reside in, is it your home or is it his home?
It's my home, but right now I'm transitioning, so I'm somewhere secluded. I'm not going to be there.
You're not going to be at the residence in which this incident?
The county has me somewhere unknown.
So Your Honor, we would be With the request of separate residence, at least that he be able to stay in his home.
And do you understand the request is if you're living somewhere else, the request is that he's still able to go to the apartment or the house where you live?
He could do whatever he like, Your Honor.
Okay. And do you have any belongings there that you need to get or retrieve?
No.
So you're good? Okay. Is there anything else you want us to know? Okay. So I would set his bond in the amount of $1,500. We would order no contact. They would maintain separate residences, but I understand that she's not living there, so he can go back there, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay? Thank you. Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are you Mr. Lowe?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Lowe. I've reviewed the police report. I do find probable cause for one count of domestic violence battery. I don't think anyone is here. We would order no contact with the victim alleged. They will need to maintain separate residences. If they do live together, he can return one time with law enforcement to obtain personal belongings, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay? Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you.
1,500.
Your Honor, what was the, I apologize, what was the set amount in bond?
1,500?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, are you Ms. Rexa?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Rexa, on your new case. Oh, okay. I don't want to hit the alarm, right? She was brought in for violation of condition of pretrial release. There's probable cause for that. And I think we have somebody here. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And can I have your name, please?
Sylvie Rexage.
And you can put your hand down. And what is your relationship with Miss Rexa?
She's my oldest daughter.
I'm sorry?
She's my oldest daughter, my daughter.
Your daughter. And do you live together?
Yeah, I live in her house.
Is there an injunction in place?
I didn't say it, but I would like to ask to be transferred in any behavior facility because she has a lot of the issue about that. She's misusing the prescribed medication, Adderall and Xanax. And
Objection, Your Honor.
what,
Overruled.
do I have to continue?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was Becker acted 4 times. One time from her apartment. The second time she was from ER. The third time again, I filed a paper because she need help. She had some pains, and she had her surgery now. 2 weeks ago.
Where does she live?
She live in
She lives with you?
Yes.
And if she's able to get out of jail today, are you asking for her to be able to go home with you or not?
She can be, but I would like if you can do something for her behavior.
That's a different place than today. Today,
I
I'm
can-
looking
I
at whether to give her
I
a
can,
bond.
I can move from her house. I can go to another daughter. I can stay, and I know she need help, but I can't because she can sleep all the night. She abused the medical her pills.
Oh.
So she got high. She doesn't know what she does.
Okay. I'm showing that she's out on bond on another domestic violence battery case. Do we know if
Yes.
that involves the same victim?
It does, Your Honor.
It does? Okay. And that's 21 MM 9042. I'm going to revoke that bond, so she's not going to be able to get out today. Okay, on a new case, we can set bond in the amount of $1,500 and order no contact.
Your Honor, if I may, in this case,
Can I
I
have?
just
another
wanted to
question?
inquire. You stated that this is her home.
Yes,
That's correct?
yes, I can go in, I can leave the house, but she's danger for other people, and it's very sad because she had the seizures twice. Somebody need to be with her, but I was trying to help her, and I was giving her ride, and she have her stitches in her foot, and she doesn't know. I wanted Monday to drop to the doctor.
I'm just gonna stop you here for a second. So, and Your Honor, defense is gonna make an argument for the bond not to be revoked in 21 MM 9042, just based on the fact that this is her home, and I believe this incident is happening in her own home. I'm not sure, I'm not gonna go into the details of the case, but we'd just be asking that bond does not get revoked today.
There's probable cause for violating the conditions of release. It involves the same people, so we are going to revoke the bond, okay? So she'll have to see a judge on that. So we'll give her a $1,500 bond on the new case, order that she have no contact with the victim alleged, so they need to.
I can move.
Okay.
If you can leave
She's
her.
not getting out today, but when she gets out, she's not to have contact with you unless there's another court order that modifies that, okay?
Is any way you can order to be in mental health behavior?
I'm gonna order that she take all prescription medication as a condition of release, and that she not consume any non-prescribed medication or any alcohol. There are other ways for people to get her some mental health treatment. That's nothing I'm gonna be able to do today.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
can continue.
She needs to go see the judge to get a new bond on the bond that was revoked, okay?
Tomorrow?
No, that won't be tomorrow.
Because of the weekend. Okay, maybe she's gonna be sober more because when she was Bekarak to the.
The soonest she'll get a bond hearing is sometime next week, okay?
And is any way I can give you the contact number of her doctor? She called me today because she have her stitches and it's not good. She's supposed to remove
She's gonna
stitches.
see medical in the jail, and they're gonna get information from her. I don't know if
Because she doesn't know, that's why it's supposed to remove her stitches 10 days ago, and I worry about it. Her doctor told me today to contact her, or somebody can remove her.
Yes, Your Honor, and she is demonstrating the physical, also medical issues that
They
she's having.
remove it?
They
They remove it?
She's gonna see medical here, okay?
Did they remove it, sir?
Yes,
don't
they
know.
removed the stitches in ER the day before yesterday.
I'm sorry?
Can
They
you
did
check that,
remove the
please? Because-
stitches of my big scar, and I have a surgery on the other leg to remove the extra.
The doctor said she can do the
accessory
surgery.
bones.
Told the
now
stitches are out,
For
okay?
so long.
Thank you.
Did they remove the stitches? Because
Yes, in
sometimes
emergency
it's not
room, they
a-
removed the stitches, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
ma'am.
hopefully.
Good luck. There's a lot going on, I understand, but she's gonna stay here, okay?
Because I want her to help, but it's so dangerous all night. She's talking, she's misusing the prescribed medication, Adderall, Xanax, and everything. So
You can look into Marchman Act, Baker Act,
we did that.
okay?
But
You
they
can-
keep just 72
Okay.
hours because she becomes sober after that. So do I have to leave the house?
Well, she cannot have contact with you, so if you're there, she can't go there,
So I can move to my daughter and it's better for, to don't be in street.
but she's not going home this weekend.
Your Honor, is there any exception? My doctor will make a surgery on Friday for me.
No,
on
she
the
said
other
no,
leg.
she can't make the work
I
after
contacted
9 weeks, she
through
said.
the emergency room, and she said that she will, and I can be returned here at even longer, double the time if you'd like.
I'm sorry?
That requires a motion, okay? We've appointed the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and they'll get some information from you.
Yeah,
and
the
a motion
doctor
can be
said for
filed.
next
We
week. to call
cannot
her.
solve all of these issues today, okay?
Okay.
All right?
Is there any way you can make an exception and let me go home? I really miss
No,
my.
I don't have enough information. You're not going home today, okay? Thank you. Good luck, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to her too, because it's sad.
Are you Miss Werching?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, so Ms. Werching, I do find probable cause for battery. Good afternoon, sir. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name, please?
Richard Warching,
Mr. Werching, what is your relationship with Miss Megan Werching?
father.
And do you live together?
Yes,
Okay, and this involved you?
yes.
Okay, so it's domestic violence battery. If she gets out of jail, the issue is going to be whether she has any contact with you or not. Are you in fear of her?
Yes,
Okay, and so I would issue a no contact order and require her to find other living arrangements while this is pending. Is
Right.
that what you want?
yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Werching?
May I give a statement?
I don't know if I need, you're welcome to, you came all this way, you're welcome to
I
tell me
did, just give
anything.
me just one minute. So this is a 6-year journey. It's,
And Your Honor, just for the record, defense is objecting to this
okay.
testimony.
Can you tell me why? I'm just curious. Isn't this relevant for a judge to decide conditions of release? I'm just curious. Is it?
When revealing facts or things related to my client that could maybe incriminate her or harm her case, I don't know what testimony he's going to elicit.
She has every right not to incriminate herself. He can tell me whatever he wants.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead.
I would say it's a 6-year journey. We've had multiple rehabs, counseling, and unfortunately, we're at rock bottom. We have just no other recourse, and we need the state's help. Threats to stab, poison, to me, to others, and so it's a terrible situation.
Okay, and I understand that, and we're not going to be able to fix all these things
No,
today.
I understand.
But what I would do is, she does qualify for pretrial release, okay? So she's not going to have to post a bond, but I'm going to give her conditions to have no contact with you, directly or indirectly. She'll have to maintain a separate residence from you as well. If she has any personal belongings there, we allow her to go back one time accompanied by law enforcement to get those things. You would be notified when that happens, okay? So you're welcome to be there or not, but she'll get things and leave. And we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. I would also impose a condition of she would not take any non-prescribed medication or drugs as a condition of her release. I do think that was some involvement with some medication here.
Judge, if I may?
Yes, sir.
She has nowhere to go. She has no family in the area. Maybe there's friends. She'll be completely relying on us for whatever that other residence is. So with us paying for her or what have you. Ideally, we'd love her to be here for another day or two, and then we would put her into the, I think called the University Behavioral Center. I'll just say that and I'll stop talking.
I understand the concern. We don't use jail as a convenience for, even though these are valid reasons. If she's entitled to get out, she's going to get out.
Got it.
And the issue is whether you want to have contact with her. If
I
you're
do
going to
not.
make arrangements for her to go somewhere, it sounds like you might need to have some form of contact with her.
She has family members.
Okay?
My wife.
So I'm ordering her that she can't live with you.
Right.
That's okay.
That is okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Sir, good. Nice to see you, sir. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
All right. Are you Mr. Williams? All right, Mr. Williams, I do find probable cause for a dating violence battery. I would set your bond in the amount of $1,500. We would order that you have no contact with the victim alleged here as a condition of your release. I don't think you live together, but if you did, you would have to maintain separate residences. Actually, he qualifies for PTR. That's fine with me. So you don't have to post money, but you'd have no contact with the victim alleged, and you will comply with the conditions of pretrial release, okay? And we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And are you Mr. Akind or Akindi?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, Mr. Kennedy, we do find probable cause for one count of burglary of an occupied dwelling. Bond would be set in the amount of $10,000. We would order that you have no contact with the victim alleged, no return to the location. We'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor?
Yes.
1 year is a bond.
Say, Conya's bonded out, thank you.
Mr. Cook is present.
All right, are you David Cook?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Cook. We do find probable cause for one count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We would set his bond in the amount of $2,500. We would order no contact with the victim alleged here, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Cook. Okay, thank you, sir. Are you Mr. Everett? All right, Mr. Everett, let's see what we have here. In your new case, 21 CF 16120, we do find probable cause for grand theft of a motor vehicle. Bond would be set in the amount of $1,000. One count of possession of cocaine, and bond would be set in the amount of $150. Looks like he's out on bond in 21 CF 14848. Also a possession case. We would revoke his bond as to that, and we'll appoint the PD on these cases, okay?
Your Honor, he also has another case,
I missed a case? I'm sorry?
a traffic case.
Okay,
Your
that's
Honor-
21 CT 8329, and that is driving with the license suspended or revoked. $500 bond, probable cause for attaching a plate to an unassigned vehicle, that would be $100. Appoint the PD as that case as well. Yes, ma'am?
Your Honor, Mr. Everett would be requesting that his bond doesn't be revoked. He does have a newborn at the house. He would like to be home to be able to support his child.
Unless there's no objection from the state, I would revoke it though, but if the state's okay with it, that's okay with me.
Your Honor, I'm asking for the bond to be revoked in that case.
None of these circumstances is what I typically would do here, okay? Sorry, sir. Thank you. All right. Are you Mr. Gordon? Yes. All right, Mr. Gordon. All right, Mr. Gordon, I do find probable cause for burglary of an occupied dwelling. Bond would be set in the amount of $5,000. You're to have no contact with the victim alleged. I think they might have been roommates, but you're going to have to maintain separate residences if you do live together. You can return one time with law enforcement to obtain your belongings, and we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender, okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good luck. You, Miss Grady? All right, Miss Grady. All right. So, Miss Grady, you were picked up for a failure to appear warrant. The judge did set your bond in the amount of $5,000, and we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay?
And Your Honor, Ms. Grady had like to request a bond reduction as she can't afford the $5,000 at this time.
It's not my warrant. She's going to have to go ask the judge who issued the warrant. I'm sorry. Okay, so right now it's going to be $5,000, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
All right. The next one I have is Timothy Graham.
Hello.
You're Timothy Graham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Timothy Graham. All right. I've reviewed the police report. We do find probable cause for one count of aggravated battery. We'd set bond the amount of $3,500. Also probable cause for grand theft third degree, a $500 bond. Resisting a merchant, count 3, also a $500 bond. We would order no contact as a condition of release to the victims alleged, no return to the location where this is alleged to have occurred, and we will also appoint the Office of the Public Defender. Okay, thank you, Mr. Graham. And are you Erica Griffin? All right, Ms. Griffin. In your case, we do find probable cause for possession of cocaine. That's a $1,000 bond. Also, possession of drug paraphernalia would be a $100 bond, and we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender.
I don't want you talking about the.
Okay.
Ma'am, Ms. Griffin, Ms. Griffin.
The request is ROR. Any response from the state?
Your Honor, the state has no objection to the ROR on count 2.
What about count 1?
Your Honor, the state objects to count 1.
The history is pretty significant here, okay? So we'd keep the bond as to count one, we can ROR count two, that's fine, but it'd be $1,000 bond as to count one, okay? And we'll appoint the PD. Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Are you Mr. Hughes? All right, Mr. Hughes, we do find probable cause for grand theft, third degree of a motor vehicle. We'd set your bond in the amount of $2,500. We would order that you have no contact with the victim, alleged victim in the case, and we will appoint the office of the public defender, okay? Good luck, sir. Are you Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Jackson. You were picked up on failure to appear warrants. Right now, the judge is indicating no bond, okay? We'll appoint the office of the public defender, and they'll try to get you bond with the judge, but right now it's no bond, okay? Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question? Does it not help at all that I turn myself in?
Do you know who the judge is?
No, sir.
Okay. The answer to your question is it might. It's not going to help you today. That may help the other judge who's going to decide whether to reinstate your bond in the same amount or increase it or keep it revoked. And the fact that you turned yourself in is helpful. I just can't disturb that other judge's warrant today, okay? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are you Jonathan Joseph?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Joseph is here. We do find probable cause for fleeing and eluding law enforcement with siren and lights activated. He does qualify for pretrial release. He doesn't have much history, so we can allow him to do PTR. All right, so you're going to check in with PTR. You're not to violate the law. We will appoint the office of the public defender, okay?
Sir.
Good luck, sir. Are you Mr. Lofton? All right, Mr. Lofton.
Yes, sir.
You were picked up on a warrant for violating conditions of release. Right now, it is no bond. We will appoint the office of the public defender to represent you, okay?
Yes, sir, but there was one thing. I don't believe I had a warrant. Well, I know I have a warrant, that's why I'm here, but I actually saw my probation officer on the 6th, and it's crazy because it was given out on the same day.
Well, the allegation is you committed a petty theft in case number 21MM7797. So if you were, that's the basis for this, and so I'm not in a position to disturb this now, okay? But we've appointed the PD, they'll know what to do, okay? Thank you. Are you Mr. Matthew? Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Matthew. We do find probable cause for a grand theft of a motor vehicle. We'd set your bond in the amount of $1,000. We would order that you have no contact with the victim alleged. We'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Are you Mr. Milton? All right, Mr. Milton, we do find, we have probable cause. You got two things going on, it looks like. 21 CF 16125, there is probable cause for possession of cocaine, and bond would be set in the amount of $1,000. Count 2, possession of drug paraphernalia, that would be a $100 bond. Your other case, which is 21 CF 16126, there is probable cause for driving with license revoked as a habitual offender. That bond would be set in the amount of $2,500. We will appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. Okay? Thank you. Are you Mr. Patrick?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Patrick. Hi, Mr. Patrick. We do find probable cause for one count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Bond would be set in the amount of $5,000. One count of carrying a concealed firearm, that would be a $150 bond. And we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay? Thank you, sir. Are you Mr. Rhodes? Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Rhodes,
Your Honor,
we
if
do,
I may, Mr. Rhodes signed a document to waive the reading.
okay. His bond would be set in the amount of $10,000. We would order that he have no contact with the victim alleged, and we'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are you Mr. Rodriguez? Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, we do find probable cause for possession of cocaine with the intent to sell or deliver. That bond is set in the amount of $15,000, and we will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I would also ask that Mr. Rodriguez have no contact with the other co-defendants in the case.
Okay. And do we know their names?
Yes, Marcus Lee Conyers and Jared Harp.
Okay, so as a condition of release, no contact with those co-defendants while this is pending, okay?
Sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Rodriguez would be asking if the court would be inclined to reduce the bond for him, as $15,000 is not affordable to him at this time.
Any response from the state?
Your Honor, the state has no objection to a reduction in the bond.
And Mr. Rodriguez, are you currently employed?
No, sir.
Okay, and when was the last time you worked?
3 months ago?
Okay, do you have a bank account?
No, sir.
Do you have access to any money at all?
Sir. I have the $200 I got locked up with, or
So you have $200? Okay, that sounds like a $2,000 bond. Okay, so we'll reduce his bond to $2,000, same conditions as previously mentioned, okay? Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you Mr. Zhao?
Yes, sir,
Hi.
unfortunately.
Mr. Zhao is here. You were picked up on an arrest warrant, it looks like. Probable cause was found for burglary of an unoccupied dwelling. That's a $5,000 bond. We would order you have no contact with the alleged victim, no return to this location, okay? Why don't you talk to her first to make sure it's okay to speak?
And, Your Honor, Mr. Zhao would be asking for a reduction from the $5,000 to just start a new job.
Any objection from the state?
Your Honor, I would leave it to Your Honor's discretion. This was a warrant.
There's a warrant, there's no indication I can't modify that. I can go to 2,500, but given the nature of the charge, I don't think we'd go lower than that, okay? So we can reduce the bond to 2,500. Same other conditions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you Ms. Dixon? Yes, sir. Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Dixon. She was picked up on a failure to appear warrant. Bond is set in the amount of $1,000, and we can appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent her.
Sir, could I please speak?
Yes.
I wanted to say, on this case, sir, this case number, I was in jail for it last month in October, and I served time. I was here for 26 days. And on the 6th of November, my lawyer, Mr. Andrew and Kyle Blythe from the Public Defender's Office went to court for me, and they were able to get me time served, and the charges were dropped. So when I picked up this warrant, it names the same court case number, as well as it's for trespassing, and that's the same case that I had. And there was no date for another trial because the charges were dropped.
Here's what I can do. We're gonna take a look at the case, and if it was resolved, it was resolved, but we're gonna, Madam Clerk's gonna pull it up for us, and
Thank you so
we'll
much,
see what's
sir.
on the record. I can't promise anything, but we'll take a look, okay?
That's awesome.
And did you enter, do you believe you entered a plea?
No, sir. The state didn't file any charges. There was no probable cause. That was on November 6th in the Ocoee court.
We're showing they filed in this year.
I apologize, Your Honor, if I can just have a moment. Your Honor, would the court be inclined to give this client, Ms. Dixon, a ROR at this time so she can figure out the case numbers and the controversy that she's disputing at this time? It is a trespass
not my
misdemeanor.
warrant.
I'll also be able to bring the paperwork to court, please, sir.
I understand, but we're showing that it was filed, there was a court date set, and it was missed. That's on the website here. The judge on the case gave $1,000 bond, and we're gonna leave it at that for now, okay?
No, please, sir, please, I ask you dearly. It's Christmas. I have not got enough money. Please, sir, it's a trespass.
I understand, it's not my warrant, okay?
But it's for out of state. I've never been out of state, sir. I've never been out of state. Please, sir.
It's not my warrant, okay? We're gonna keep the bond at $1,000, okay?
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. You're Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones was picked up on a warrant for failing to appear. Right now, it is no bond. We can appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Jones, okay? Anything else?
Yes.
Your Honor,
Okay.
ask me.
Well, I guess you're spoken. Yes, I was, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So there's a chance that my bond can be reinstated.
No, not today. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, Bansi is bonded.
Okay, bonded out, thank you. Is this Mr. Janasek? All right, Mr. Janasek. Picked up on a failure to appear warrant. The bond is set at $2,000. We can appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, okay? Thank you, sir. Good luck. Can I have your name, please?
Stacy Foster.
All right, so I have a Wanda Williams. Bond out?
She's not on our docket, Your Honor.
Inmate number 210299695.
She bonded.
Bonded out, thank you. Stacy Foster.
Sir.
All right, Mr. Foster. Probable cause is found for trespass after a warning. We can set his bond in the amount of $500, and we can appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Foster.
Can I handle that here? Can I take a plea?
I don't mind doing that. Is there an offer from the state?
One moment, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor, the offer will be an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, no return, court costs.
Okay. We're going to give you a plea form, Mr. Foster. Review it and sign it if you'd like to plea today, okay?
Is there anything else keeping me here?
Pardon me?
Is there anything else, any other charges keeping me in jail today?
I wouldn't know that, but is there any holds on him?
Yes, he's out on PQ. He has a,
Oh, is that? We don't have that here. But if he resolves his case, I'm not going to revoke his PTR. That's fine. We can get him. Yeah.
I can get up to it?
Well, if you enter this plea, you can. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And you told me that you are Stacy Foster. Mr. Foster, how far have you gone in school?
1 year of college.
All right, so you're able to read and write English, is that correct?
Sir.
And are you today under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication?
Sir.
Anything wrong mentally or physically that would interfere with your ability to understand what we're doing in court?
Sir.
All right, so this is your plea form here. Did you read it and sign it?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, by entering a plea, you're waiving rights, and they do include your right to have a trial. You're giving up that right by doing this today. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And you're entering a plea of no contest to trespass on property after a warning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It's a second-degree misdemeanor. It carries a maximum sentence of 60 days in jail, okay? And I have reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis for the plea, which I do accept. It is freely and voluntarily made. Mr. Foster is alert, intelligent, understands what we're doing here in court today. He is represented by competent counsel. All right, so Mr. Foster, we are going to adjudicate you guilty. It's a time-served sentence, so you get to go home today. And what are his court costs on an adjudication? $273, which we can reduce to a civil judgment, okay? If he's out on PTR, we will not disturb that on his other case. Any other holds on him?
no, yeah.
No, that's it? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Good luck. You have 30 days to appeal.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, helmick is behavior.
Helmich is behavior, so that would
Yes.
be trespass. We can reset him for tomorrow, okay?
And we have Odoms as medical.
And so we can do the same thing for Odoms.
Alvarez is also medical.
Who?
Alvarez. Hector.
We have a Dominique Williams,
We don't have that on our docket.
I can give you the case number 21029676.
He bonded.
Thank you, bond it out. So you said Alvarez,
Is medical.
okay, so Alvarez would have to be reset.
And Gonzalez refused.
And was this a reset from yesterday?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, it was. So why don't we take care of this today if we can? This is 21 CF 6469. There are 3 failures to appear. There's no bond, and we can appoint the office of the, if that's okay, we'll appoint the office of the public defender.
Why is that here?
Refused.
We
Your Honor,
have,
you said FTA, and they're already set at 0?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
we have Preston as medical also.
Okay, then
And
that would be
reset.
reset as well.
You address Keller? Jeremy Keller?
He was the one that changed.
Thank you.
Are you Mr. Springs? Yes, sir. All right, hi, Mr. Springs. All right, there's probable cause for disorderly conduct here. Hey, Mr. Springs, where do you live?
Transit homeless.
Okay. Are you staying at the Coalition for the Homeless?
I go
or-
to the mission sometime.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna release you on your own recognizance, okay? Be careful.
Could I, I'll take that too. But would it be possible to get time served and get
Well,
resolved?
if you want to put this behind you and there's an offer, we can do that also. Okay, is there an offer here?
Yes, Your Honor, the offer to resolve this case is a withhold credit time served and court costs.
Might be anywhere. I'm a homeless guy. We really got a problem.
So we can resolve this. We'd withhold, I'll reduce your court cost to a civil judgment, and then you'll have this behind you, okay? If you want to do that. There's a plea form. I want you to review it and sign it if you agree, okay?
Okay, appreciate it.
Sure.
Just in case something happened, I don't make it.
Okay, I understand.
And,
That's the plea for, there you go.
okay, thank
Okay, Mr. Springs, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And you told me that you are Michael Springs, and Mr. Springs, how far have you gone in school, education?
12th grade diploma.
All right, you're able to read and write English?
Yes, sir.
Any alcohol, drugs, or medication today?
I know, sir.
Is there anything wrong physically or mentally that would interfere with your ability to understand what we're doing?
No, sir.
All right, so this is your plea form here that you had a minute ago. Did you review this?
Yes.
And did you sign it?
Yes.
Okay, and you're entering a plea today, I believe, to violating a city ordinance of disorderly conduct. Is that correct? All right, basically, it's panhandling, okay? And I do accept your plea today. It's freely and voluntarily made, and Mr. Springs understands what he's doing here in court. So we're going to withhold adjudication of guilt. It's a time-served sentence, and his court costs are $223 of the court costs, which we will reduce to a civil judgment, okay? Mr. Springs, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, good luck, okay? You have 30 days to appeal. Bye-bye.
He was an add-on.
Okay.
I don't have your.
And I don't know, does this, are you Mr. McLean?
Yes, sir.
All right. And does the state have this case or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I don't have an affidavit for this case.
I can give this to you.
May I approach?
I'm acquainted with his mother. I've worked with her. She's in the court system here, so I want everyone to know that. If there's an objection to me, I don't know her personally, we don't socialize, but she has sat next to me in court before. Okay. Okay, so it looks like there is probable cause for carrying a concealed firearm and possession of a controlled substance with a weapon. Count 2 comes in at no bond. I think he is entitled to a bond on that. So, State, did you have a chance to look at this? And does the state have any request as to count 2 or suggestions?
Yes, Your Honor, I do believe that he is entitled to a bond and the state would leave it in Your Honor's discretion.
I mean, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I know his mom, and it doesn't seem to me that the gun was tied necessarily to the drugs. This can be a pretty high bond, which is why I'm asking the state if they have a suggestion. But if you don't, and you trust my
moderate
discretion,
bond,
that's
Your
fine. Okay. Count 1 would be set in the amount of $1,000. I'd set count 2 in the amount of $5,000. Okay? And he's not to possess any weapons or firearms as a condition of release. This one was probably seized. If you own any other weapons, they do need to be turned over to law enforcement within 24 hours of your release. We will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, would the court be inclined to reduce the bond in count 2? This is a possession of a controlled substance. I was kind of just looking up the statute to see if there was a requirement to test the pills, as I don't see in the affidavit that these pills were tested.
The remedy for that would be to bring him back tomorrow, though, but that can be a really high bond. So I think this is a pretty reasonable compromise. But if you want them tested, we can give the state 24 hours to supplement the record. But a police officer's identification of the drugs might be good if memory serves me to find probable cause. Maybe not, but I'll leave it up to you. Do you want him to come back?
A moment to consult. Thank you. He would just like the bond all today, Your Honor.
So 1,000 and then 5,000 count 2, appoint the public defender's office. And no weapons or firearms, okay? Okay. Mr. McLean, good to see you. Have a good luck, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.
And Your Honor, would you like the affidavit returned?
We had another one up there. You're welcome to trash it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Or do whatever you do with it. Thank you. Anything else from the state today?
Nothing further from the state.
Good. Anything over here?
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor. Thank you.
Are both of you here tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, so Judge Mize will be here tomorrow. And I wish you all a Merry Christmas, okay?
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Erlene, what are you cooking tonight or tomorrow? What is she cooking? And what time do I show up?
She didn't tell me, but if you give me your, I'll email you and tell you what time, give you the address, you come on right on over.
Where does she live? She got a nice house?
She lives in DeLand.
DeLand? That's God's country. It's beautiful. Land is also Volusia. Tomorrow night, I'm cooking the prime rib with the bones in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good time.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna come to your house. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't come. Merry Christmas.